Money, 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 money. That's what you all came here for, right? Hello and welcome to my how-to travel guide budgets edition, part 1. Yes, now budgets and money and travel is a huge topic. So I've split up my how-to travel guide into 3 different budget sections. Yes, 3 of them. So first section will cover pre-trip and how much you'll need for your trip. The second episode will cover up saving up for travel and we'll give you a bunch of tips and advice on how you can save money to put towards travel. And the third episode of our budgets edition will cover spending wisely on the road. Now, when dealing with travel, it's easier to think of it in smaller chunks and not like this big overwhelming amount, because if you're anything like me, when you hear the number $3,000, $5,000, $8,000 for a trip, you kind of go, oh my gosh, there's no way I have that kind of money. There's no way I can possibly travel. Well, you do. You just might not have it at this exact moment. But that doesn't mean you won't ever have that kind of money. So if you are planning a trip that will cost approximately $3,000 US that you wish to take next year, that's only $58 a week US that you need to put aside. Everyone can cut $58 a week out of their budget, I guarantee you. And that $3,000 US that you will have saved up at the end of the year will get you a 2-week vacation almost anywhere in the world. So first we're going to cover how much exactly you'll need. Obviously, there's a variety of factors here, so kind of figure out which ones are more suitable to you and your trip. So how much are we gonna need? It's time to take out your notebook. So the first thing we're gonna do is we are going to break down our biggest costs involved in our trip. So these will be our airfare, our accommodation, and any tours that we're going to take. And we are putting our biggest expenses first, which 90% of the time will be our airfare. The more time you have to research your flights, the better deals you're probably going to get. So one of your biggest tools that you should be using is an airline flight comparison engine. These are things like Kayak or Skyscanner, even Expedia or Travelocity. Any of those that compare a bunch of different airline rates, and a lot of these engines have an option where you can watch your set flight. So try and get a whole bunch of different rates. Go to your local flight agent. They can get you an even better deal than online sometimes. Generally though, try not to book a large international flight less than 2 to 3 weeks before your trip. Those ones you kind of want to give a little bit more leeway for, because the prices go way up when it gets closer. And if you're concerned about budgets, the earlier you can book your trip, the better, because then you can get that cost of your flight away and done with. If you are a frequent traveler, and I'm talking about if you take a plane trip at least once every 2 to 3 months, then you kind of fall under this umbrella of frequent travelers. In which case, it is worthwhile to get an airline loyalty card and to try and stick with the same alliance of airlines. There's really just 2, Star Alliance or One World. So try to pick one of them and join an airline loyalty programs card for one of those like conglomerate airline alliances. So then you'll just generally fly in there and you can rank up points and get free flights. There's also this magical thing called a round the world ticket. It really is magical, guys. A round the world ticket is exactly what it sounds like. It is a round the world ticket. So if you are planning a longer trip, and I'm saying to really like get value of it, you need to be traveling for minimum 3, generally 6 months or more to book this kind of ticket, because they are very pricey. I'm talking like a couple $1,000s. But you start in one location, and depending on the exact like ticket, you can fly to multiple destinations over a period of this 3 to 6 to 1 year. So it lets you do a bunch of different stops, all technically in one ticket. So you get a much better deal from the airline carriers by purchasing this. Sometimes it's also worth looking at low-cost carriers or other means of transportation such as buses or trains to get to your destination. So do you remember that list of countries we made a couple previous episodes ago? Yeah. So each country you visit will have a different rate of how much their dollar is worth against your dollar. For example, if you are a US traveler with US dollars and you are going to the UK, so you're going to be changing your US dollars into British pound sterling, you are going to get a lot less for the same amount of money than, say, if you took that exact same amount of US dollars and you went to a country where their currency is not as strong, such as Thailand, and you change that into Thai baht. So in Thailand, that same amount will stretch out way farther and you can travel for a lot longer than if you traveled to the UK, where your money will not stretch out as far. So going to a notoriously expensive country such as Norway, Sweden, the UK, Switzerland, Australia, or Brazil, your currency, unless you're one of those ones, will not go as far. You will get less for the same amount of money, and you will not be able to travel for as long than if you went to a more developing country or a country with a weaker currency than the one that you are going to. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't travel to a country with a stronger currency, but it's just something to keep in mind when you are budgeting. Yeah, so play around with currencies and really figure out how much your money is going to get you in the country that you are wishing to visit. Accommodation. Now, I will be covering these more in depth in a separate video, but accommodations will generally be your second largest cost when traveling. So if you are trying to be budget savvy, try and stay at hostels or B&Bs. If you're going for longer periods of time, try to rent a place. There's couch surfing, where you stay on strangers' couches. There is staying with friends. You know how much money you can save if you stay with friends? Assuming you've got friends in country, even if they're not even like that much friends, you just be like, yo, hey, I'm just coming to your country, I'm gonna stay with you. Yeah, it's cool, whatever. Do it, because you will save a lot of money. What I'm trying to say is that you don't always have to default to hotels when you travel. There are a lot of other options. But then again, of course, if you really want to stay in hotels, by all means do that. If you have the money and you can budget it in, do it, because there are some very beautiful, luxurious, relaxing hotels and they can make your trip for you. But I just want to let you know that if you are on a budget, I would probably stay clear, because they will eat up your budget very quickly. What to do and see. So activities and tours. This will be your third-ish biggest cost. Well, the point of travel is to go out and see things and travel, is it not? I just really hate seeing people who are traveling to these beautiful, remote, exotic locations and they can't do anything. They can't do the activities or go see something because they didn't budget it in their trip enough. They made the mistake of not budgeting it in. So make sure that when you're traveling, you write down a list of your top destinations, the top things you want to see. Find out how much they cost and put that in your budget as a must-do, because near the end of the trip, I guarantee you this will happen to you. You will end up feeling really tight on money. And if your big items and your top things you want to see are near the end of your trip, I would hate it if you had to miss out on that because you just simply didn't have the money that you spent on other things later on the tour. Yum, 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 food. So you can spend as little or a lot on food. The best part of this section of your budget is that it is the most flexible and you can adjust it while on the road. So a good rule of thumb that I like to follow in my food budget while traveling is the rule of thirds. So a third of the food that I'm going to eat on my trip is going to be simple, quick, cheap, and I will generally cook it myself or prepare it myself in the hostel or in my hotel room or B&B, whatever. Breakfast, sandwiches, done. So another third is going to be quick, again, simple, on the go kind of snacks. These are things that you'd pick up at like a sandwich shop or a cafe or just a fast food item. Just something really simple and something pretty cheap. nothing too fancy. And then the last third of the food that I'm going to eat while traveling is going to be the sit-down restaurant, the local cuisine, the trying the different flavors of the country that you're visiting, because you are traveling. Obviously, you want to try the amazing food in the country that you are visiting. I really enjoy the rule of thirds because it allows you to save money while you do travels for longer periods of time, and it also allows you to have that third budgeted in so that you can enjoy the food of the places that you are traveling to, because I would hate for you to miss out on all the amazing cuisines that there are when you travel and visit places. Buying things, yeah, shopping, woo! Again, this can be as little or as much as you want to spend. I'm usually not a big shopper when it comes to travel, but some people really enjoy shopping in other countries, so this will vary depending on what type of person you are. So know what type of shopper you are. If you are a shopper, make sure you allow money to shop. And if you aren't, then maybe just a bit of money for some souvenirs, because everybody always has to get some souvenirs. Transportation. Again, I will be covering this in another video, more in depth, but think about the different types and methods of transportation that you will need on your trip. Are you going to be taking a bus? Are you going to be taking a ferry, a train, more intercity or inter-country, continental, whatever flights? Will any of these be required in your travels? If they are, try and see if you can research the prices for them beforehand. You don't have to book them right away, but know approximately how much they are going to cost you and write that down into your budget. And finally, pre-trip costs. Now this is something that a lot of people tend to forget about until literally right before their trip. So these include things like visas, traveler's insurance, medical insurance, vaccines and shots if you're going to a remote destination. These can cost several $100s. Very expensive. Backpacks and luggage. You might not have the exact luggage needed for the trip that you're going to take. As well as little things like summer dresses or a new bikini. Just saying. Expenses add up to a lot. So make sure that you have that budgeted in to your travels so you're not suddenly forking over hundreds of dollars right before you go on trip and being like, oh my gosh, what is happening? Alright, so that's the end of this video. I hope you guys have gotten some really good tips and some advice on how you can try and sort out a budget for the trip that you are going to take. Yeah. And next week I will be talking about all the different ways that you can save money. So giving you a whole bunch of tips on how you can save up for this trip and the budget that you have now created. Yes. Haha! Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and let me know your questions and comments down below. I really look forward to hearing all that. And yeah, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this. And yeah, I will see you again in a few days. Bye guys! Hello guys, welcome back to my how to travel series. Basically my web series where I give you a step-by-step guide on how to plan your own trip or travels. So this is a part 2 of my last week's video, which was the travel styles video. If you haven't seen it, click here. Alright, I'm assuming that we've all seen it now.